good evening. This is Jason Wydrow, your host of Online Strategy Podcast. It's about 10:25 on October 3rd, 2013, and there is a train in the background. So that's what that noise is. So I had something that I wanted to talk about, and back in early 2000s and up through about 2006, 2007, there was a tremendous amount of promotional stuff happening, marketing promotional material flying around, all on the lines of get ranked in Google, first page, get ranked at the top of Google, get ranked at the top of Google overnight, get ranked this and that. It was just these, I call them obnoxious promotional statements because 99.9% of the time it was just misleading and it was false. And understanding, I was in a difficult position, and it was difficult for me to even sell that as a service because I could not use those tactics because I knew just understanding more, I guess, a little bit of a lower level of a search engine algorithm and how it actually really works. What was being promoted was just simply misleading, and I that's not why I got into this business in the first place. So anyway, I wanted to touch on this topic of getting listed on the first page of Google and all this talk. First of all, I do want to say that some of those promotions, or some of that, so statements like, be listed on the first page of Google, within 7 days, I've done that before. I've achieved that. I've achieved even faster with specific products, specific services, and specific industries. And it was a combination of things. But what you have to consider is that the very basics to consider when talking about placement in search engines. A lot of documentation says content is king, in relation to that subject, and content has a major part of it. But there's a particular balance of information, the actual structural code of the website itself, backlinks, of course, as being one of the most commonly talked about things. Backlinks, links linking back to your website from associated reputable websites, which obviously can be a challenge within itself to achieve that. And of course, you have your standard search engine optimized, I'm going to use really simple terms here, but it's called metadata, and all it really is information that describes what your site's about. And there's different types of metadata and different purposes for it and different uses of it, and it applies to different services and businesses in different ways. But basically, the search engines can use that data to interpret more about your website, what it's about, and how relevant your website is to what someone is actually searching for. So this subject of search engine optimization is tremendous. It is not a subject that is kind of like, well, you list your site on Google and then all of a sudden you're just dominating the search engines. There's a lot to it, and it's really an art within itself. Just as there's an art creating a beautiful graphical designed website, and beautiful, and just as an art to create beautifully crafted programming code that makes your website run fast and runs proper and strong and stable and secure and all that. So it's very much its own art within itself. But what I want to just end with is, don't fall for the, get you listed on Google overnight. Now remember, I'm talking about organic search engine optimization. I'm not talking about pay-per-click advertising, any type of paid advertising where you're competing for positioning or competing for keywords or anything like that. I'm talking about raw, old school, organic rankings, meaning that you're not, in simple terms, you're not paying per click, you're not paying for position, right? So I prefer to deal with that, although I do run pay-per-click campaigns for some of my customers, and they do very well with those. And that leads me to the next point, is that it's all relative to your industry. It's all relative to your business. It's all relative to your competition. It's all relative to your exact services, your niches, and everything else. What strategy is going to be best for your business? Organic search engine optimization is a long-term solution. Pay-per-click advertising, placement advertising, all the different types of paid advertising are immediate and long-term, can be temporary and long-term, leading in the strategy that I always try to apply is, if it starts with pay-per-click, possibly, to get things off the ground, and then you merge out into an organic pattern so that long-term your cost savings increase and your client base naturally begins growing organically through the search engine itself, as opposed to monitoring all types of paid advertising. Now, keep in mind, obviously, you're going to be paying a developer, a search engine developer, to monitor your data, balance your content, help you organize everything properly, and structure the website so that, Google, for example, can find the site properly and competitively with any of your competitors, and under the correct key phrases, keywords. In other words, what people are actually going to type to find your product or service. What are they going to exactly write to find you? And that's all in the art of organic optimization. So anyhow, that's kind of just an overview of what I'm involved with in the organic search market and what I like to do, and have really had great success through a lot of trial and error, experimenting with a broad spectrum of products and services, and really understanding, that search engines are a beast, and there's a lot to them, and it's not one of those, on-off switch. Oh, I'm on the top, I'm on the bottom search engine, no problem. And I'll be honest, in some cases, it's really simple to get high rankings. Again, it's all relative, very specifically to the niche, to the product, to the service. So, anyhow, I don't know if I was too educational in this podcast, but I was more or less wanting to just give you something to chew on and think about in terms of organic search engine optimization, what it is and why it is that there's such a spectrum of different balances of positioning based on the different types of products and services out there. I hope you found it useful. As always, thank you for listening. See you next time.